Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of TBR. I'm George Binns, and we're continuing with the series of Women in WOMTech, Women on a Mission to Earn Commission. And our guest this evening is Sarah Byrne, and you run your own business now. It's called Neighbor Good Care. And how'd you get into that?
So Neighbor Good Care is a nonprofit home care and rides to the doctor organization. And I started it after I had experience with my mom who got cancer.
Yeah.
And I was running another business at the time, a bakery, and I had care for my mom at home, but I was getting calls all the time for certain things and having to leave work to go take care of her. And finally, one night, I just decided that this isn't working, and I left my business and went home to take care of her. And after she passed, I looked around and I did some research and found out that a lot of families deal with this care conundrum. They don't know what to do, how to get the right care in place, whether or not they can afford the care, and who is the right person to talk to about it.
Yeah. So you provide all these kinds of services then to help people who have got to take care of somebody but have never done it before. And I guess even if you've done it before, it changes fast enough that it's very difficult to keep up with it. Right.
And one of the statistics about the caring for someone at home, a parent or a loved one, is that 80+% of the people who do the caring are women. Yeah. And a lot of them have to leave work to go home to take care of mom or dad.
Yeah.
And they have a very hard time going back into the workplace after the care is finished. So it's an economic problem, it's a logistical problem, and it's just an overall problem with the number of people now that need care.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. The society is aging, and all these medicines that they keep inventing just keep us all living longer, and sooner or later we get to the point where we need more help than we anticipated, I guess.
Yeah, that's very true. People are definitely living longer. I'd say the average age of our client is in the 90s, and a lot of them are still home. Some of them are in assisted living, but for the most part, it's changed a lot. The cost of care has changed a lot, and the whole geography of care has changed. You look at the options you have. If you need more help than what you can get at home, going into assisted living or going into skilled care, and assisted living, it's now about $10,000 a month to go to assisted living, and you get like 45 minutes a day of assistance. So it doesn't help people who need more help during the day, and staying at home is an option, but also very expensive. So we, as a nonprofit, we're trying to provide affordable care, but also give the caregiver a living wage.
Well, that was one of the things. The day I got introduced to WOMTech was over at the Acapulco a couple of months ago, and you were the featured speaker that day. Yep. And you mentioned that point again, and I'm not sure exactly what it means. You say that you only get 45 minutes of assisted care. What are you paying for what are you getting for this $10,000 a month?
Right. So if you're able-bodied and you just can't or don't want to live alone anymore, say you don't drive anymore, assisted living is a good option for you because they provide you with meals, they have activities, and that type of thing. But if you need more complicated or coordinated care during the day, say that you need help getting up and walking from point A to point B, or you have medications 4 or 5 times a day. If you have an illness or you have something that, causes you to require more assistance, most assisted living facilities are not set up that way. They're set up to get you up in the morning, get you dressed, get you to breakfast, go to your activities, get you to lunch and dinner, and then help you get into bed at night if you need that kind of assistance. Yeah. But if you need a lot more assistance than that, it's they don't provide that type of care. We actually have caregivers in assisted living helping people that, because they need more care than just those 45 minutes a day.
So you think of something like Brooksby Village as the nearest one that, at least according to what I get from the advertisements, is you can buy a condo there.
Right.
And as your conditions deteriorate and you need more help, you can move into various degrees of assisted living.
Correct.
So
they're all different tiers of for cost.
Yeah.
Right. So the apartment is one.
Yeah.
They can bring meals to your apartment. Then if you need more and you go into the assisted side, that costs more money. And then if you no longer can be in the assisted side, you go to skilled care. And that's basically a nursing home.
Okay, so I guess the three stages are just you're renting an apartment.
Yep.
Or you're buying a condo, whatever. Then you get someplace where they come in every day, get you out of bed, make sure you can make lunch or make lunch for you or bring you lunch,
Yep.
put you to bed at night, and that's assisted.
Correct.
That's what the assistance is.
Yes.
And the next stage of that is a nursing home.
Yes.
What do you get in a nursing home?
So a nursing home is full care. You get 24/7 skilled care around the clock. And the typical nursing home is around $16,000 a month right now,
Okay.
I think. So what's happening is the cost of care is erasing generational wealth in families at like a breakneck pace.
Yeah.
And we're looking to find a new solution for that.
Okay, so your organization, your Neighborhood Good Care, where do you fit in, or how do you fit into this spectrum, I guess you would call it, of...
Right, so right now we provide home care. We do end-of-life care. We work a lot with hospice and to help clients who are at that stage. We also do rides to the doctor, and we do appointment buddies.
Yeah.
So we'll have someone go with someone to the doctor because a lot of times they don't remember what the doctor said and the family isn't there and they want to know what's going on. And our next phase, which we're entering right now, is putting together small care homes in neighborhoods that would be half the cost of a nursing home, but provide full care to someone. And that's
So
what we're
this
going to do.
fills the gap between assisted living and nursing home?
Right. It basically would provide any type of care the person required other than like significant nursing care, like needing IVs and that type of thing, like where a hospital would step in.
Yeah.
But for the most part, a person could come into one of the houses and stay until the end of their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how is this different from, say, V&A, visiting nurse?
So V&A is mostly Medicare. They bill Medicare for their services. We are right now we are a private pay service, and I think what makes us different is that we're looking to create this home-like environment for people where they can go, and only 6 or 8 residents per house.
Yeah.
So it would be like them being in a neighborhood, in a home, very much like what they're used to now, rather than going to a big facility or having it and staying home and paying. It's quite a bit of money to stay home and get full-time home care right now.
What kind of money are you talking about for that?
So it's like $15,000 to $20,000 a month for 24/7 care, and it's probably $3,000 or $4,000 a month just to have someone come in, 4 or 5 hours a day, 7 days a week for help.
So if you try to set your house up for someone in the family that needs help, and you want to bring in the equivalent to assisted living, I guess is what you're saying.
Right.
We're talking, say again the number?
For full-time or for part-time?
Well, that gets to the question, I guess.
So if someone
you
needed
probably start off with part-time because you don't need that much help.
Right. So it'd be $3,000 or $4,000 a month.
And then it gets up to the 8,000 to 10,000.
Yep. It can be as high as 15, to 20.
Depending
on the type of care and depending on how many hours a day. Yeah. It's expensive.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're paying somebody to sit there and watch it.
Yeah, but some of the time, yes. Other times, they're doing laundry. They do other things in the house, too, to assist, make meals and that type of thing. But in general, it's like having a crossing guard with you, with you in your home, try to keep you safe, because most people, the big issues you have when you get older is you fall and you break things. So we're trying to prevent that, and also companionship and keeping them company. We like to say, we want to provide as many moments of joy to a client, during the day as we can. And be part camp counselor, which is keep them busy, do things with them. Sometimes we'd take them out for a drive, go to a lighthouse, go somewhere that's different from the four walls that they're in their house. Yeah.
So, what kind of money are we talking about for that service that you provide?
Yeah. So our caregivers start around $32 an hour. Okay. And depending, we have some clients that have Parkinson's, they have ALS. Mm-hmm. They have significant, complicated care that requires lots of physical work during the day. We have quadriplegic clients, people in wheelchairs, people who absolutely can't do anything for themselves. So it's a range of care needs, and that kind of dictates how much the care would cost.
Yeah. So basically, you're setting up. If I understand it, you've got an operation going where somebody comes in and all they need is somebody to get them out of bed in the morning and make breakfast, make lunch, make supper, put them to bed at night. I guess that's kind of the minimum assistance.
Yep.
And then depending upon what their physical condition is or their medical condition, they get more and more assistance, and the bill keeps going up from there. And you can provide all these gradations in service.
Yes.
So it's a one-stop shop, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, so steal somebody else's tagline. But anyway, so you're providing a service where you don't have to jump from agency to agency and trying to find out who's next in the order of how do you get things done.
Right.
So how long have you been doing this?
So I started this about 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I started by learning what this business is all about because I come from a tech background. I had a technology company before I did this.
What kind of company was that?
I had a IT services network integration company. And we had built a private cloud infrastructure in a data center in Somerville, Massachusetts, and I had that company for about 18 years.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I sold that company, and I started a bakery. So I was in the bakery business when my mom got sick.
Oh, okay.
And, I'd roll out of bed and roll into work, at 4 a.m. and come home at 9 p.m., and we needed someone who was reliable to take care of my mom. Yeah. And the problem was a lot of these caregivers that were coming to take care of my mother had already worked a 12-hour shift during the day, and they were working another 12-hour shift at night. And that type of care my mom needed, someone needed to be wide awake. Okay. And a lot of times that didn't happen, and it's because what happened is on the agency model, the traditional agency model, the caregivers don't get paid enough money. So they have to work 70, 80 hours a week. Yeah. So we wanted to change that narrative, make the caregiver the primary, recipient be the beneficiary of what was going on with the care, but it would also give the clients a good, reliable caregiver.
Yeah.
So for 7 years, I've done this. It started small. I started taking care of a man who was paralyzed in an accident, and I learned all about how this works. And we got a few caregivers, and then we grew it from there, and now we have about 35 caregivers in our group.
Oh, wow, yeah. How many houses you got? You talk about them.
So we haven't put a house up yet, but we're looking to do that now.
That's the next phase.
Yeah, so I'd like to have a couple houses in neighborhoods in different cities and towns because your children want to be nearby to go visit you,
Well, you're depending on them to provide some sort of assistance in this game of keeping their parents happy and safe.
Yes, and I get very upset because clients run out of money. and that it's a very hard thing, and they run out of money for care, either when they're in an assisted living or they're at home.
Yeah.
And we need a more affordable model that takes care of everybody like they're being home. Like we used to take care of our grandparents, great-grandparents, but with everybody working now, that whole dynamic has changed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I went through a similar situation with my parents. The business I was in, there weren't the kind of jobs in Rhode Island that would let me use my degrees. And so therefore I had to move out of state.
Yep.
And left my parents behind. And fortunately, my sister, she was a teacher, so she was local. She stayed local. And she caught the brunt of putting my parents into a nursing home and all that 9 yards of stuff. And it sort of worked out that way. But I can imagine the way the economy is going right now, and depending on where the jobs are, the kids get scattered all over the countryside.
They do.
And now it's a situation of who back in the old hometown can you turn to step in and help out? And I guess what you're describing is a situation where, well, they start off needing a little help. And then they need a little more and a little more.
Yes.
And again, from my knowledge, which is very sporadic, we're now sitting into a situation where, well, at what point do you go find an assistant, find somebody in the neighborhood, hey, stop by and see my mother a couple of times a day, and progress from that to VNA care, which is what I know about. And then the next step beyond that, I guess, is nursing home. And which one do you put them in? Are they all the same? And I guess these are a lot of questions that I can imagine I would have had at the time.
Yeah, because there's like all these options. So you have long-term care insurance, which you purchase, several years before you need it, but it doesn't cover the whole cost of care. And then
why not?
Because they're insurance companies, and when they put a policy in place, insurance companies, they're great until you actually need them.
Yeah.
So there are policies in the past that, I'd say the highest policy I've seen has been like $7,000 or $8,000 a month in coverage. And that's good coverage. But right now, because of the cost of caregivers, the cost of living, cost of doing business, that it's not enough to cover the full fare of having that type of home care or assisted living care, even, because you can use it in either place.
So if you had insurance, you're still going to have to fork out quite a few bucks because they have a cap on how much they pay.
Yes, I did a whole little roadshow with Fidelity because they're talking to their clients now about making sure that you have a combination. So you have long-term care insurance, but you also have, retirement savings, or you have investments that can help cover that gap between long-term care insurance and what actually the cost is.
So I guess being Fidelity, they would push the other side of this thing of some sort of retirement plan that has...
Yeah, they push both, actually. They think it's good to have a good mix to have.
Do they
both
sell
of
the
those.
insurance?
They do not sell the insurance, but they have talked a lot about the fact that there are very good providers now out in the marketplace that can do this type of insurance. And the other part of it is if you don't have the means to have care, you can go on Mass Health.
Yeah.
So you go on Mass Health, but there's only a couple Mass Health beds in every assisted living place.
Okay.
So there's a huge need for more affordable care out there. And that's the type of thing that kind of keeps me up at night sometimes. I'm like, what are we going to do? We have a shortage of caregivers.
Yeah.
People are leaving the state because of the cost of housing and rent here.
Yeah.
So one of the things we're looking to do is make an apartment in our care homes for one of the caregivers.
Okay.
To keep them here and happy.
Well, yeah, keep them on site.
Yeah.
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 So it's a morass, and I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but for me, it gets confusing as to what do you have to do and who do you have to see and where do you have to go. So I guess this is the biggest part of your operation is direction.
Correct.
Where do you go? Who do you see? What can you expect when you get there?
Yes.
And several of the things you mentioned already this evening is like you have long-term health insurance. Well, that's great, except it may be long-term, but it ain't enough to cover
everything.
The cost.
Right.
The cost of everything is going up, so the insurance is not going up with it. So you have a fixed resource that when you took out the policy, it sounded like a good idea, but the world has changed, and now you're in a hole.
Yeah, I mean, they do cost of living adjustments in these policies, but they're not enough. And the policy itself, if you bought it 15 years ago, the cost, it didn't keep up. The cost of care didn't keep up with your policy.
Yeah. And I guess we're into a situation, too, where if we go back to the original point that people are living longer, they're getting into problems much later in their retirement plan, which is dwindled down.
Mm-hmm.
So that resource that seemed like a good idea when you were 70 is a little on the soft side by the time you get to 90, which is, as you said, that's most of your clients, 90 plus.
Right.
So do you also provide financial guidance as part of the service?
In terms of could you explain that a little bit to me?
Well, as you've been talking about the cost of living and the cost of different kinds of caregivers, somebody walks in and says, my father's got Alzheimer's or my mother's got something or other, and what do I need to do? And how much is it going to cost me? And so I think one of the things as a client I would like to know is if I take on your services, what are you going to do? What's it going to cost me? And given that I've got Alzheimer's, it's going to deteriorate. What should I be planning for as the years go by? And in how many years do you think it's going to take to get to the end of care level?
That's a tough question because you never know.
Yeah, you never know, but you guess.
But you can kind of give a 3 to 5 year window.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And we definitely sit down with the client and say, here's what we think you need right now. As things change, this is what it's going to turn into, and ultimately you're going to end up here.
Yeah.
Because with that disease, it doesn't get better; it just unfortunately progresses.
Yeah, and that's just one of many.
Yeah, and there's memory care places for people with Alzheimer's, but any type of care that someone would need, you have to go through and tell them, this is what the cost is going to be, this is how it's going to get done, and then the family decides, okay, we can afford X. So brother, sister, okay, you're going to come over and sit with mom and or dad, a couple days a week. It's it ends up being like a blended solution, honestly, at the end of the day. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned early on that this is a nonprofit organization that you're operating, and I assume you will accept donations.
Yes. So right now we are looking to start building our care homes. And these are small homes, 6 to 8 residents per home, and a place for a caregiver, and for it to be an affordable place where someone can come and stay basically until the end of their life. And so we have a capital campaign going, and if you'd like to get more information about it, you can go to our website, neighborgoodcare.org. It's not neighborhood, it's neighborgood, because we're looking to bring good care back into the neighborhood. And you can learn more about us there.
Good. And as you mentioned, that there's a lot of aspects to this game.
A lot.
And on this website of yours, can they also get an idea of what kind of services that you provide?
Yeah, so our website has plenty of information on our services. You can also click and contact us to get more information on the cost of care for a loved one.
Yeah. So I guess this is where it comes down to that. I guess you got to plan ahead, and it's a fussy plan because, as you mentioned, you don't really know how long somebody's going to last with cancer. Do the cancer treatments work? Do they not work?
Right.
And all sorts of other diseases that don't kill you instantly. They take a while.
Yeah.
And you've got to plan for some sort of care for that. And it's an ongoing program. And I guess this is the basis of your operation, that you're there for the duration.
Yes, till the very end.
To the very end. And do you provide hospice care too?
So we work with hospice, and we do end-of-life care.
What's the difference?
So hospice comes in, and they become the medical arm for the client, and they get a little bit of assistance, but it's not full-time assistance. They don't come every day.
Yeah.
We provide a lot of emotional support services. I'm also an end-of-life doula, which is an interesting thing. People hear of doulas when you have a baby, but now there are end-of-life doulas. And what I do is I work with the client from the moment that they realize that their departure is imminent.
Yeah.
And I help them work through things that they're going through around that process. I help them with unfinished business, sometimes with family and different things like that. Yeah. And I'm a support arm for them whenever they need to talk to somebody. And it's hard to talk to your family when you're going through stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm a resource for them to talk to. And I spend a lot of time with those particular clients, and I'm usually with those clients when they pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for stopping by today. I mean, there's an awful lot to this game that
thank you so much for having me.
Don't understand, and I've never got fully involved in it, kind of thing. And it just boggles my mind as to how expensive it's getting and how detailed it gets to be.
Yes.
And so thanks again for joining us. Appreciate your help and guidance.
Thank you so much.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us and spending the time. And if you've got any questions, at the end of the credits, there's my email address. And if you have some comments that you would like to express, you can always make room for you here at the table. And we'll see you next time.